Sure. All right. Hello, everybody. This is David Toot here, joined with our guest Fenrir, Mr.Spirit, and Quango Hut, and we're going to be discussing CP Steel on Thoughts on TF2 today. Take it away, guys.
Sure.
Right, I'd say. Thanks for having us. All right, I'd say I'm just making a first statement. I think that in pubs and yes, also on our TPS servers, Steel is often played just incorrectly. Because on one hand, we've got the the team on offense, which is more often than not gonna try and just rush E once the possibility arises, or get a teleporter there and just do that whether it's a good idea or not. But on the other hand, we've got the defending team that does not lock down the connection between B and E and lets them in right away, allowing that instead of splitting defense. So the defense team is just as guilty as the offense team, in my eyes.
Now, to expand a bit on that is, blue team can go for E right off the bat, just right off. If there's nothing on B, blue team has a free shot at E all they want. But red team also has the ability to rotate around and catch them pretty easily with their spawn doors leading right to E, A, and B off the start. So capping A is actually pretty good because it seals off one entrance. Cap B, you now force them into a new spawn and funnel them into a place where you can actually capture B while still having you have direct line sight at the spawn. You can cap E, and anyone who comes through that spawn door, you got a good sniper, you got a soldier or heavy over there guarding it, a sentry gun. You can cap E just by capturing A and B. You don't even have to go for C, but C makes it even easier by adding walkways so more classes can get onto the point instead of Scout, Demo, Entry, Pyro, and Soldier. That expands it to all 9 classes at that point. However, you're going to have your classes defending one area and having little sentry posts of people watching others. So it's not entirely Red's fault for losing E. It's how they're playing the game that makes it their fault.
Yep. So what can I add to this? I think in the event that you do decide to completely ignore B, but you haven't maybe a defense on E and A, there's a pretty good way of doing it where if A gets taken down, instead of going to B and losing and bleeding players there, he's actually moved straight to C and while keeping a defense on E. That's one of the things I've always found that some people do try and do, and they've always played on it. But I've never really seen that be quite effective, and it's always more effective in terms of defense, in terms to defend both A and B at the same time.
No, there is a big problem. A point is actually pretty poorly designed. There's too much open space for blue team to get around. They get the height advantage. They get full advantage at A. At B, it becomes a bit more towards red with the slope for blue to climb up. So giving up A is actually quite a viable strategy, and it's actually quite used in competitive such as Highlander, and it's usually the best strategy. You'll have the spy with a cloak and dagger sometimes on A, and just, if someone's not paying attention, I'll get a free pick and slow them down a bit. Or if they're medics with them, you'll be able to have a chance at him.
Huh. Well, that is actually, I played competitive, and I've only gone up to silver, but that was as a medic. It's only been the last couple years where I've actually started branching off and playing other classes, and this has been me playing since 2007. But I never really thought of it that way when you said just completely abandoning A. But you do bring up a good point because honestly, in every pub match I've seen in some competitive matches, it is really a real pain to defend A if you do, even if you do manage to succeed. It's sometimes like it might just not be worth the effort.
Yeah, because blue team gets that staircase right to get above, to look right at red spawn and look down. So even putting a sentry gun up there, Demo Man right behind the hill doesn't even have to peek it and can take out the sentry gun. Put the sentry gun down lower so when they come out the big gate, the upper ground can still shoot from the windows down at it. Put it up on top of the roof where the large health pack is. Still spammable from the windows. The soldier can easily take that out, or even if you pop Uber, then you still can deal a lot of damage to anyone out there. Snipers that want to hide by the rocks, your spy can sneak by, stab them, or your own sniper from spawn, give them an overheal, watch them peek out, and give the quick headshot or body shot, take out the enemy sniper. A is really weak to blue team, and it's painfully obvious to see once you've gone into comp and seen it tried to be held. It gets destroyed really fast. You bleed players, you end up losing A, and at that same point, those doors opening to B through the drop down gives their team a really fast advantage over your 20-second respawn time, allowing them to get A and possibly B at the same time. Whereas if you just give up A or put a couple throwaway players like a scout or a soldier on there just to cause some havoc and slow down the time, you'll actually be able to hold B more successfully and set up a defense through the E route, such as having a scout or a soldier within that lobby area near the point, just so if there's players actually coming through, they can call them out and the team can rotate over. But if it's just like another soldier or scout, they can try and take them on.
Yep.
Now, the real problem with Steel lies within its other 2 points, C and D, as well. Once you cap C, you get your ramps up out at E. But the real problem comes when going from C to D. You have a narrow chokeway, which a lot of Highlander players call the hallway of death, because you're walking in front of a glass window, which red spawn can see through, with 3 spawn doors near you, one on both sides and one leading right to the point, which makes you very susceptible to a spy attack, a backburner pyro, or any ambush from behind in general. And at front, you could have a sniper or any power class just ready to pop out of you from the spawn door itself. And that's where some of the trouble lies in with Steel as well. Not just A. There are other problems with the map, but it is a well-designed map in general. It's just, if players take the time and think through what they're doing in their actions, they can actually live longer, control points longer, and not have to wait 20 seconds on respawn on defense.
Mhm.
And honestly, I can see like the problem with that hallway as well. Even if you're on red, let's just say there's a demo or even a soldier there, like unless you're a pyro, you're pretty much you're doomed. It's a death trap for both teams.
Yeah, it's just a narrow hallway. It's straight. It's narrow. It doesn't give you any way to escape to the sides other than that no way to sec. There wasn't even the hallway with the health pack. Never mind that.
Yeah, that health pack, you have to go up a staircase unless you're a scout, then you can double jump up to it. But even still, you're still stuck in that hallway.
Yep, and if you go for that health pack, you're just even easier to be. It's even easier to be surrounded. So,
and
really don't want to be.
There's a hallway. There's a hallway behind E, but on point C, it's accessible from point C. You go kind of under the map to get to D, like what would be the strategy? Like what would you want to look out for if you're taking that route instead of the narrow hallway?
If you want to get to D, your best route would be going through lobby, but in comp, usually red team knows to hold the lobby because they can hold both D and the lobby that way, along with E. So your best bet is either cross across the actual point while leaving a player or two there to cause the distraction of, hey, we got people on this point, but we got people on the other point. What point do we go for? And then if that fails, try and take through the lobby and then go to D. Because if you can clear out the lobby, each player you kill is going to have a 20-second respawn timer. If you're blue, you only have a 5-second respawn timer. Your death's not very significant. Theirs is. They need to stay alive. But if you keep your way through, take it, and you get D, it's going to be vastly easier to cap E. Your best bet, though, is have your sniper cover not from the window. That window's too easy. They need to cover from the BCE connector that connects point B, C, and E together. It's got a little hub where a sniper can hide. He's got a health pack nearby. He's got an ammo pack nearby. And it's a great sight line over to their spawn, the little window that their sniper can peek through, and a little over towards that ammo pack / health pack. And they're able to rotate around, too, along the sides to get aiming at the AE lobby, or over at the enemy spawn, or up on the little engineer's building deck. They've got a lot of room to work with. And that last point has so many different ways to get to every other point. If you go and you cap B, don't wait for the gate to open on the top hill. Go through the BCE connector. Go through underneath through the large where the large health pack is. That's another way through. There's so many ways to skip the timers and speed everything up to use your aggression and get the caps faster. Slow the enemy team down. Halt their defense.
Get some pressure up before... Yeah, exactly. Halt their defense. Like, if you cap B and then just rush through the BE connector in order to get to C, then you're probably gonna just be in their face at C before they even have a sentry up. That way you can just keep getting them.
Yeah,
again and again.
Escort your engineer. If your engineer uses level 3, you can cause some real havoc on CP Steel. Like a lot of havoc. If he plays on the flank, you can cover their retreat routes and they won't be able to retreat. They'll be in a pincer maneuver. They'll have to choose, do we take the sentry out or do we try and fight these players? If they take the sentry out, you know they automatically are deciding to retreat and give up. If they decide to fight the players and they get swarmed, they're either going to retreat into the sentry and have no way out, or they're going to die to the players. And even if they do fend off your team for a bit, you still have a sentry on their rear that they have to panic about. So, say you cap B, instead of your engineer waiting for that gate to open, have him go through the BCE connector, drop a gun down pointing at C, you guys jump right in. They'll have to either decide gun or players or retreat. And that's the specialty of this map. You have to force choices. If you put pressure on E, their choice is, do we let them cap last, which takes a lot longer the more points that are locked, or do we fight the point that we're on now, or do we divvy up and have a few people take E while the rest of us stay and defend this point? It's a map of choices. It's not a linear map. It's not Dust Bowl. It's not Gorge. It's definitely not Badlands. It's a whole different mindset where multiple choices can be correct and a lot can be incorrect.
You know what this map, like, hold on. like I'm just having a flashback. You know what this map reminds me of? Hydro.
Tell me.
Ooh, but like you know how Hydro was originally called TC Hydro. Well,
Yeah.
this in a sense is kind of like Hydro in the way that that game mode was supposed to be territory control.
Yeah,
It kind of reminds me of that.
yeah, and there's been a custom map that was modified to be like Hydro, where there was 8 points to capture at all times by both teams, and in the end, whoever had the most or captured all 8 was the winning team. So
way, what-
this is like the dumbed down version, where is if they had all the points open, then you'd have a real challenge for players.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I noticed that some of the points are locked until so it is very dumbed down compared to like
There-
what you described.
There are some concepts that newer players don't seem to understand, by the way, on Steel, aside from the defense splitting, by the way. The main things are, first of all, well, the newest players, incredibly easy getting lost on the map, which is kind of understandable, because if you take a first look at it, the
It's
whole
got
is
no
just
clear
a lot alike.
directions. There's no clear directions on which way to go on the map. It's a lot of corridors, and it's got arrows pointing. Yeah, there's a door this way.
Yeah, there's what I want to refer to now is there's a website called raysuag.tumblr.com/cpsteel. That's a animated version of the map where you can take a look at it, and you look at it from above, on the whole map, and you see all of the points. You can show red directions, blue directions. It shows the spawn, and you can also click on the points to see what changes depending on what point capped. It's incredibly useful in order to learn how the map works, how the map changes depending on cap, and in order to build your strategy based on this thing. I'm gonna
quickly. I've got the link. Quickly send it via Mumble, so you can put that in the video description if people want to look at it. Apparently, there's no text privileges in the channel. Whoops.
Yeah,
Sent you directly, fam.
I got it open right now. I'm gonna put it in the
got it.
description when I upload this.
Right.
Yeah. Another
is
good thing
very
you
useful.
can do too is create your own server, and once you're in, go to blue, cap points A, B, C, and D, and then before you even go to cap E, open your console, type in svcheats1, then mp_tournament1 to turn on tournament mode. It'll stop the game, turn on an infinite timer waiting for people to press F4 on their teams to start the match, and you'll be able to walk around the map and find the little nooks and crannies where you can hide stuff, build stuff as engineer, hide as a soldier up in little nooks and crannies above doors. There's a really nasty one in the A lobby where just sit right above, and as soon as they walk in, you can bomb right down on top of them. They'll never see it coming. There's places where you could hide a spy that you can try and test out of, what can I stand on? How do I get to it? How hard is it to do this? There's little jumps that you can perform to get from C over to E really easy without having to take the under route through the large health pack. There's all these nooks and crannies, and just viewing the map from above is definitely fine. Great way to learn it. Walking around it and testing it with different classes to see what they can do on it will give you a lot more. Yeah, it'll give you a lot more, and it's easy to set up.
Yeah, best way would be to just rent a serve.me.tf server for a while, and if you're in TPF, me, Fenrir Dogfang, one of the leaders of the group, I'm a donor to serve.me.tf, so feel free to just ask for a server anytime. Right, another thing that I always notice that a lot of people don't get after they finally manage to find their way around the map is that they don't know what each cap does exactly. Like, for example, A, it opens up, if you cap A, it opens up the great door at A that goes right to
It
E.
opens two
It
of them.
opens, yeah, it opens that door right to E, and it opens the side door that drop down to B. So
Now,
that,
taking that drop down is also risky too, because a demo man could have traps set up down there too.
exactly, it's just given a whole lot more mobility from E to A over to B. So yeah. Then once you cap B, you open the BC connector, the direct one, although that one takes a while, as we just stated before, so you might want to take the BE connector in order to get to C. And I guess that's pretty much all that happens on B, isn't it?
Yeah, it opens that door and red spawn changes.
Right, red spawn goes behind. Once you cap C, once you cap C, the only thing that changes is that you get the catwalks that go onto the E point, so everyone in your team can get on E from that point forward, not only the high mobility classes like Scout or Soldier. And D especially, a lot of people just are like, all right, once we've got C, we already have the catwalk, so why exactly should we capture D? Well, first of all, you get rails on the sides of the catwalk, so you're not as easily pushed down just by any kind of knockback. And second thing is, you're locking down the red spawn's direct way from spawn to E. So you'll set their spawn even further back by forcing them to go over C or D, which gives you a lot more time, especially if you've got a level 3 teleport up.
Yeah, and the thing is, if they come from C over to E, they're most likely going to be taking the low ground, which means you know they're going to be coming from down low, which you can aim towards. There's a lower chance that if they know what they're actually doing, they'll probably take the upper route and go from the B direction from C, where you take the upper route instead of the lower one. And I'm not talking jumping up the cliff and going around through B. No, you can jump up to that little metal grating and take the upper way for a shortcut to E as well. Very few players actually do it, but it is doable. You can crouch jump up on top, and even if not, you can jump on the little cement wall that goes around and walk over towards it, and you can get that way. D-way, though, it's easy to plant something over by where the doors got sealed off, and you can cover D easily. So C is the more important route of where they can come from, but most players will come from D because it's the shortest route. And that's the downfall of a lot of players, is they always think the shortest route is the best route.
But that is honestly the most predictable route.
Yeah, and if you're predictable, you will be stopped. If you be unpredictable, they won't know what hit them. And you could completely wipe their team off of E point, especially as a demo man. Throw some pills because they're stacked in one area. Everyone takes the splash damage from one pill, and one person takes a direct hit. Then throw stickies out towards it. The pyro's not going to be able to air blast them all off.
Especially like if you got your pyro, if their pyro is working together with the demo, right? All their pyro has to do is set one of the guys on fire with a flare or something. That pyro is going to immediately try to extinguish him, so he's going to be a little bit low on ammo, and then that gives basically the demo free raid.
Yep, even spamming Scorch Shot into there, set multiple people on fire. Multiple people on fire panic, and that makes it harder for the pyro trying to air blast everyone out.
And then by the time he gets everybody out, demo shows up. Oh, I only have 50 ammo. I'm not going to be able to reflect anything.
Yeah, I could select maybe 1, 2 at most if I don't spam any flames. And if I run out of flames, well, I have no offensive capability except my secondary melee, and those usually aren't that good, except for a shotgun. And that doesn't reflect crap.
Exactly.
So this whole map is actually the ultimate test of teamwork and communication.
Exactly, which is why, in my opinion, if us from Team Play First were to be working together properly on this map, how it's in all its possibilities, it would be the best map to play for a group that calls itself Team Play First. We're still falling short on that point, but I trust you all to be able to work on this properly.
So, Mr.Spirit, on that question, what I just mentioned about the pyro running, like, let's say if I was the pyro that was stuck on E with the enemy pyro in the demo, let's say we blew effectively, we managed to capture everything and we're on E, would switching to Man Melter around that point, would that be a good idea? So I could conserve ammo for the flamethrower to use the air blast.
It would be a fair idea. At the same time, you also want to make sure you're not caught with your man melter out when you need your flamethrower out to do the reflex. Now, if you're using the degreaser, yes, you can switch to it a bit faster, but at the same time, at the cost of a bit more ammo consumption for air blasting, so you have 8 air blasts instead of 10. Personally, I like the stock flamethrower because I get the extra air blasts, extra damage, extra afterburn. However, I don't have the same switch speed as a degreaser. But that's just my personal favor of a flamethrower. But a man melter can definitely help you conserve all that ammunition. You just need to make sure as soon as that demo comes out, your players know that you can't keep putting them out constantly while you're dealing with the demo man. You need them to help you focus that demo man down so you can help them deal with the pyro from there on.
So for this pyro idea, one with the pyro on the point, I think one thing the pyro could do is make sure the medic is constantly not on fire. That would then, in fact, help the medic stay alive longer to heal the other teammates, therefore also helping the pyro conserve more ammo. The other players, if they're just coming from C, there's a health pack in the DE connector which a scout could run to if need be. It will reduce the players on the point, but it might be useful to have just one player alive to distract them.
Yeah, which is a completely fair argument, is you need to utilize health packs around. Medics will definitely be useful. You've got your health pack on the DE connector. You've got a health pack on the BCE connector. You have the health pack that's underneath. There's health packs around that people can go to, especially your high mobility classes. If they can go and grab those health packs, they will be more worth it. Now, your heavies, your medics, your pyros, your engineers, they're not high mobility. They're going to be staying near that point. An engineer needs to keep that gun up on point to keep it going to help defend the area. Your medic needs to keep healing people and being able to dodge damage. But you don't want him caught out going to get a health pack. Your heavy's too slow. He's got a large health pool though, so he can take a lot of that fire damage put out. Now, if it's a flare gun, those crits will add up really quickly. If it's a scorch shot, the mini crits and the knockback will have a chance to knock you into that pit, so you need to make sure your teammates aren't on fire. So having a medic constantly on him and having a man melter put him out is probably good, because that health pool and damage output will really help, especially near the point or on the point. It's all about planning what can be done to you, because once you're on that point, you pretty much commit to, I'm capping this, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, I utterly agree on that all. Yeah, what else to talk about?
Well, the next thing to the map is classes' roles. Every class has a different role on this map that isn't normal to other CP maps too. Like, your roles are going to drastically change. Your engineer on offense isn't going to be with everyone else. He's probably going to be with the flank, the scout, and the soldier. He can cause a lot of trouble with them. Your sniper's going to rotate everywhere. He wants to get those key picks constantly, whether it be the other sniper, the medic, the heavy, or the demo. He wants a constant rotation. If he can take out the enemy engineer on defense, your team's going to have a way easier time. The map is designed to cater to engineers and their teams working with them. If that sentry is up, they will cause trouble. That's both offense and defense. Level 3s are a playground for engineers. Gunslinger can eat its heart out on this damn map. For spies, information, concealing in their escape routes, and just being ready for when they start backing up, looking towards where the enemy is while they back up. You can get a bunch of free stabs that way.
Yeah,
calling out where their positions are.
Yeah, first of all, that, I mean, calling positions is a, especially in comp, a spy's main business. But what I see myself doing a lot compared to other maps on CP Steel is on CP Steel as a spy, I'm just starting to go dead ringer a lot once we're in the whole building, and I'm pretty much starting to rotate a bit more than usually on any other map as well, just because you got ways to behind their back from wherever and whenever. So that's also going to give a whole more chances to get backstabs than any other map would.
And scouts and soldiers, if they play through the different flank routes, they can set up ambushes as well, pincer maneuvers. Like your heavy, if you've got a good roaming heavy with you and he knows how to get around without needing a medic on him, he can do some real damage to people.
Ooh, especially with the Tomislav.
Oh yeah, rev up a Tomislav, take out a few people while they're trying to retreat or deal with an Uber push coming in on them. They have to select, do we deal with one player or the Uber? What do we deal with? If we don't deal with the Uber, we're going to get wrecked by it, and we're not going to be able to hurt it. If we set our pyro off on it, yes, he can air blast it back, but he's not going to survive if everyone else starts shooting him. If we pop our Uber on the pyro to keep ourselves up, well, the pyro is going to have to use that whole Uber to keep the Uber off, and everyone else has to deal with that heavy now. If we deal with the heavy, we have to fall back. We won't be able to hold both points. It's a lot of selection once again. Your players can force choices, not just the engineer. Players on Steel can force some of the hardest choices a team has to make. And this is what can make and break a new player, a veteran player, and a competitive player greatly.
So, what you said there with the medic and the Uber, this is what Fenrir was saying about the problem a lot of actually competitive players that play on TPF and new players as well as people that have played pubs for a while. I guess the whole thing, right, where you would have the medic and the heavy at the same time, the medic popping his Uber on another class while the heavy's flanking, you would need to communicate. People kind of need to understand that this is a map you really need to communicate on.
Yeah, it's high communication. And a new player to TF2 doesn't use their mic, they don't talk. A lot of people don't talk in a pub, Valve or otherwise. Sometimes community servers, you won't even see them talking. And it's like, guys, we sort of need to communicate here. This is what really can affect us. And it doesn't happen. Then you see high-level matches go off, too, in competitive. There's one platinum match where a platinum team was capped on E after having point B capped on them, and it took the team less than 5 minutes to do the whole thing. and there was nothing. They ended up funneling one by one out to their deaths on E, trying to stop it. And the sniper had a field day the whole time while the medic sat back with crossbows healing the soldier and the other classes on the point. There was no communication for them. So their next round, since they were attacking first, they set the time. And once again, same cap. They didn't communicate. They didn't rotate. They didn't learn from what happened previously, and it lost them the match. It is up on YouTube. It's on X Television's channel, and it's about a 39 long minute video because the middle break, just waiting for teams to get ready for the next round, was what took it so long. It's like this whole game was over in no time. And yet I've watched the other Steel matches they have up, and some of them last an hour long in video, and that's because the teams actually communicated and forced and worked really well together, with one epic cap ending on the exact second as the other team capped, causing that team to win and force the third round. It's amazing what teams can do when they communicate, and watching that is great communication. On my old channel, you can see my video perspective of me playing a level 3 engineer on Steel and what problems I caused for a team with a single level 3 sentry playing flank routes, and it's pretty nasty for them to deal with it. And just watching it again myself, it's like, yeah, this map, if they communicated, they wouldn't have had me putting the pressure on them. They'd never have to worry about me, but they just didn't care, and I got to put my sentry where defensive sentry's supposed to be, and that sort of threw them for a loop.
So we are kind of reaching a time limit here. Are there any final thoughts you would like to give the audience?
As I just said before, Steel would be one of the greatest maps to have for teamwork, because of all we've just talked about. And I do believe that Team Play First, if they try to start to think about the map, about how you could work this map, think about the tactics you could deploy, and start communicating with each other like a team should do, then Team Play First could become, on this map, one of the most devastating groups ever. And I'd like to see that come to pass. Like, having one game that is just that, two teams playing awesomely well, non-comp on Steel. That would be my dream for Team Play First, basically.
I think that would be everyone's dream. To see a good pub match played on CP Steel.
Yeah. What I think is Valve should take it out of its standard rotation for now until they can figure out a system to teach players how to play Steel a bit better, because their tutorials aren't good at all. It's like, cap this point, then cap this point, then cap this point. You don't say anything of how the map works, show players anything about your maps. And with matchmaking coming up, I'm pretty sure you want people to know how your maps work before they go into matchmaking. So if you don't set any limits on your matchmaking, you're going to have a lot of players who don't know how to play the game, don't know the maps, and if Steel is going to be able to be played in the rotation, you're going to have a lot of confused players who are just going to get steamrolled by players who are working together and know how the map works.
All right, and I'd like to end this on this note. So, like, with the upcoming matchmaking, a lot of regular players are possibly going to become competitive players. Like, is there, like, everyone here, Fenrir, Quango, Mr.Spirit, is there, like, what word of advice would you give to these players?
Try to think
Sorry, I'll let
you first.
Okay. I think for me, like it might sound very, very odd, but even if you like, I always find that in a comp match, you want to enjoy yourself. If you don't enjoy yourself, you won't continue to play. And you've got to, if you begin to lose, you want to play on a map that you know you can play well on, but you won't get upset if you lose. If you don't feel confident on steel or a map similar to that, and you lose, you'll hate competitive purely because of one of those games. If you decide to play it and play it for a lot of enjoyment rather than kind of ignoring the competitive scene, seeing it more of like a idea where you'll play against people with, I guess, a little bit more game sense, then you'll probably enjoy yourself a lot more. And if you're just trying to go straight up the ranks.
Also, the whole thing that just applies to everyone who is hesitating to even start playing competitive. The only way you can get experience in playing competitive is by playing competitive. And matchmaking update, you basically have an official lobbies, so why not use that just as a into thing? Obviously, you'll probably fail from the beginning. Well, depending on what people you're being put together with, but yeah, even if you're failing in the beginning, don't let it discourage you. It's all about experience. It's all about trial and error. Everything is. So
Yeah, and don't just practice physically, practice mentally too. Going on YouTube, there are videos upon videos of competitive matches and tutorials of how to play each class and what type of mode and all that. One I would recommend is Aegis, previously Aces Gamer. He has a series called the for
Not So
Not So
Dummy.
Dummies, and he's a platinum soldier, but he talks about the other classes, what the roles are for that type of mode, which is Highlander. And he's also got another video of how to learn from your mistakes, which talks about reviewing your demos, going over, criticizing how to think about how things went down. If you think negatively of how things went down, of I got out aimed, I got outplayed, you will always lose. You need to change your mindset to what did I do wrong that could have been prevented. There are many things that players just think, I got outplayed, this guy's a cheater, and all that, when they could have easily prevented things.
Right?
Yep. Similarly to that, is that some people also have the belief that my team is also very, very bad, and it was their fault and not mine for not killing the medic or not killing the scout who's killing our medic or something like that. There's a lot of people out there who have that belief, and I think I explained this in my Stories of TPF thing, but I say it's very frustrating to see that, and it's, as you said, look at your own mistakes. It's not necessarily your team doing something wrong, quite often it's you doing something wrong.
Yep, you just need to figure out, is it you or is it your team? If you're the third spy, you may want to switch off a spy.
Yep.
And there's something else I'd like to, I'm gonna, going on the same topic we were going. For a lot of new players, they are intimidated about joining competitive because they are afraid of going against these big name people. But as one person I was watching on YouTube, I kind of forgot his name, but he said it like this, plain and simple. The thing is, if you're playing this game, if you're in competitive, you don't need to think, oh, that's Benny. Oh, I'm going against Shade. I'm going against Tag. You need to think of it like this. You're going against this engineer. You're going against this pyro.
That was Aegis. That was Aegis.
Oh my god.
Yep, that is Aegis. You're not playing a player, you're playing a class. Then you implement, I'm playing this player afterwards. You disconnect, then reconnect. Yeah, that video is definitely worth posting into your description. Everyone, go to the description and watch that video. It will help you deal with people in lobbies. If you come across Barry Center in your lobby, trust me, he is a good sniper. But think of him as a sniper. That's it.
Or for example, I've been playing DV once, who is a platinum player who's often playing on lobbies. He's one of the most devastating players on lobbies. I didn't know who he was at the time when I played against him, and I managed to get a couple stabs on him playing heavy. He was a high-ranked player, and I still managed to get some stabs, so don't let names discourage you. Right,
And-
so...
And for people that are learning and you're watching all these things on YouTube, when you look at, I've had somebody very important to me, like, compare themselves just in skill level to somebody else. The thing is, you're not gonna be the very best Benny. You're not gonna be the very best Tag. You can only be the very best you. You don't need to focus on being as good as somebody else. You need to focus on being the best that you can be. And if you get that kind of mentality, trust me, learning will be a lot easier. You'll be able to look at things in a different light, and you'll be able to get like past like what Quango said, blaming your team for everything.
Yeah.
And just the negativity.
And the thing with that too is when you practice, you develop your own style. Not everyone plays the same style. You can watch all the different soldier mains. They do not all play the same. You can watch every NG main. They do not play the same. You can watch every spy main. Every single one is different. Akuma, gun spy. Stabby, mix. Paladin, knife. They're all got different styles that they play with and how they deal with players.
And that's another thing that Aegis talks about now that we're on that thing. Well, you gotta like distance yourself from the player and say that guy's just an engineer. You do, however, gotta know who that guy is and how he's gonna play. Like, let's say, like what he just said, you're playing against Paladin, you're gonna know, oh, he's probably gonna go with knife. So
Yeah,
you'll probably know how to deal with somebody that plays with that playstyle.
Yeah, that's what Spirit meant before when he quoted Aegis on you need to later implement the player into the class. Disconnect, reconnect.
But honestly, I think the biggest the biggest problem with people going competitive is not necessarily your skill. Because trust me, I've seen a bunch of pub people, they probably have better playing abilities than some of the people I went against in comp. The thing is, they're just not psychologically, with the game sense or their head.
Yeah, they lack game sense, but they have DM skills. Then there's players with game sense who lack DM skills. It's easy to build DM skills. It's harder to build a game sense skill.
I think there's also the third one, which is, I think I had this for a long while, which was you don't feel that you're good enough for competitive, even though you probably have enough skill and ability to. You've got enough game sense, you've got enough DM in order to give it a try. I never felt I had enough skill to go into it at all until I kind of was prompted into it by Luna and some other.
Yeah, you have to take the plunge.
It's kind of a smaller area.
It is scary. I know it is. Going into a lobby with a bunch of unknown people who you don't know, and you feel like they're going to yell at you for making a mistake. Don't think that way. Just, you need to get it out of your head. I've been in lobbies where I've played on Pyro and other classes that I failed at horribly, but I didn't let it discourage me because it was my first time trying to play that class in its role. But at the same time, I don't know who my opponent is, and my opponent was pretty highly skilled, so it was noob versus pro style play, pretty much. And my team didn't yell at me, they actually suggested me try different things. Like, I got yelled at by an engineer for not spy checking. It's like, I am spy checking. You need to help spy check. You don't just sit there doing nothing. I'm going around spurting flames, but I have to stick near the combo. I can't leave you there by myself. And I can't leave them unattended because the heavy's not spy checking. The heavy's being an actual meat shield.
So if I can add, sorry, I can just add to the spy checking bit. One thing I always have with players is they will blame a pyro for not spy checking, and they'll constantly do it over and over again, and they'll never tell you where the spy is, where he could have gone to, or kind of what area it was. They'll just say spy check. They give no other information. If you're doing that, don't call out spy. Say something else.
Yep.
It happens a lot where like people are like, you get backstabbed, and then as the pyro, you like they assume you cannot get a pyro can get backstabbed because he doesn't know where the spy is coming from. It's communication.
It doesn't help. Yeah.
You can't assume like there's just the assumption that pyro is an all-out killer of the spy, but he's not.
Yeah, but we can put aside communication and what other things matchmaking has in store for us for another day.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
But the
meant to be
thing
steel.
is, don't be afraid.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
And if somebody
study.
goes in there and they treat you rude, well, honestly, I can tell you they are not a true competitive player. I'm just gonna put it like that. Because if you're a true competitive player, you have good sportsmanship. If you lose, you still have fun.
Yep. You have fun, you learn, and you put it into implement next time around. The ones that scream and yell are the ones who are toxic, and they are actually the minority. You will come across them, and you will have to deal with them, but you won't have to permanently. And if they keep them up, talk with an admin. Literally talk with a TF2 center admin and go, hey, this player with this ID, blah, 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 has been very toxic in the mumble chats. Can you do something about this? And so usually they will. They'll implement a ban, usually about a week, just to say, hey, you were bad, you were mean, bad sportsmanship. We don't condone that. We condemn it.
And remember, if it gets really, really bad, I mean, if you're still going to play out the match, because you just can't leave during the middle of the match, there's always the mute button, and you can just mute him and then deal with him after the match is over. You don't have to put up with anything.
Yeah. So I think that covers everything that we can really say for our current time.
Yeah. So, if there's nothing else, then I guess it was a good talk.
It definitely was.
Yep, very, very enjoyable.
And for any TPFers watching or anybody else stumbling upon this on YouTube, I hope this helps you in whatever competitive choices or pub choices you plan to make in the future. Oh god, I almost sound like Mr. Paladin there.
I hope this helps you in your future endeavors.
Oh no, watch, he's gonna sue me like the Fine Brothers.
Anyway, CPF, always stay the ace up your team's sleeve.
Remember, be the best you can be.
And keep up the team spirit.
I'd have nothing else to say.